Alright, people. Midweek report time. So, an awful lot to talk about, an awful lot to get into. There's been a lot coming out over the last few days. Stuff from Ohara Davis, stuff about Beterbiev Smith, fights that are being announced, fights that are in the pipeline. There's an awful lot to go and talk about. An awful lot. Now, I want to talk on this specifically. Alright? Now, this was from Tony Weeks. Now, Tony Weeks obviously refereed the Virgil Ortiz fight over the course of the weekend. And when I didn't really do a post-fight review, but I talked about it briefly in my Ohara Davis video, and I also talked about it on Review of the Week. And I said that in my opinion, that's really a terrible stoppage. It was an awful stoppage. Horrific, right? Now, Tony Weeks, in the fallout from that, took to Facebook and said the following. Apparently now I don't use Facebook. I haven't used it in years. So I can't go on and look on his account, but people are telling me now as well, I'm hearing it in other people's videos as well, that this is now gone. So he's taken this down, right? But I'll quote what he actually said here at the time. So he says, excuse me, what the public don't know, that prior to the fight, they did a brain scan on him. He's not top of Ortiz, he's top of the opponents. Frederick Lawson, I think his name was. I don't have his name in front of me, but it was something Lawson, I think Frederick Lawson. And it came up that he had an aneurysm. And they did a test again, and the same aneurysm came up. Another doctor was brought in and gave him the same examination, and he tested negative for the aneurysm, so they cleared him to fight. Now, if that is true, right? If it is true, okay, we have to ask serious questions of Golden Boy and the commission. If a fighter has aneurysms on a brain scan, and they're bringing in another doctor to say, well, actually, it's fine, go ahead, questions need to be asked. Now, he has deleted that. So whether it's true or not remains to be seen. What I would say, Tony Weeks, I've no reason to, well, obviously he's posting it on his Facebook, or he did. So if he had full knowledge of that, if he had full knowledge that one of the fighters did have an aneurysm and was having some problems in the head department anyway, then he would have been perfectly in his right, I believe, to have said, no, I'm not refereeing this. Surely if you are that worried, and if you know a commission has done this, allegedly anyway, and you believe it's wrong, and it's in your mind, you should say, look, I'm not being part of this. I don't want to be part of a fight where one guy is clearly shouldn't be in there. I'm not going to be part of it. Just put your hands up and say I'm not going to be part of it. That's going to be interesting to see the fallout from that. It really, really is. Because when I was reading, I was like, God damn. Now, if it was, again, right, Tony Weeks, I believe if that was the case, he should have said, I'm not doing it. I'm not refereeing it. If it was the fact that he, maybe say, hypothetically, let's say he didn't have a choice, right? And say, the aneurysm is true. Well, I can completely understand why you would look for any reason to stop it in that regard, I remember, I'm digressing again, but I remember this very well because it was a good fight. Does anyone remember Dennis Lebedev versus Guillermo Jones? If you've never seen that fight, go and type it in. You get the Daily Motion version because it has the Box Nation commentary of Barry Jones. It happened in 2013, right? Now, Jones wins. I believe the fight got overturned because I think Jones, did he fail a test or did he refuse a test? But anyway, it got overturned to a no contest. But it was a tremendous fight. Arguably fight of the year in 2013. It's very famous because Lebedev suffered one of the worst swellings you'll ever see on, I think it was his right eye. And when I say this was bad, when Hasim Rahman had that bad swelling against Holyfield, I'd argue this was worse because it was in his eye. He just it looked horrific. It really did. Now, had that fight been in the UK, in the US, I think it was the 4th or 5th round. It was around about that time the swelling started, and Barry Jones and Ting, I forget who else was commentating on it as well, but I know Barry Jones was one of them. They were like, they got to stop this fight. And they had to, but they kept letting it go and go and go. The referee in that fight was a man by the name of Stanley Christodoulou. I think he's South African. It got to the point where Jones ended up putting Lebedev down in the 11th round. Because bear in mind, this thing was massive. And if you watch it, Stanley Christodoulou is counting Lebedev. And as Lebedev is getting to his feet, he goes 8, 9, 10, 11. Kind of like that. Just it was a normal count. Then when he realised that Lebedev's about to beat the count, he just goes 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, done. Because the doctor, you wouldn't, you could have put Stevie Wonder specs on and you could have seen this fight needed to be stopped, but they wouldn't stop the fight to the point where the referee was just like, well, if they ain't going to stop it, you're giving me a reason to stop it, now I'm going to take it. Because he didn't really have a definitive reason to stop it. Yeah, Lebedev was losing, but it was competitive. So you couldn't just turn around and just randomly stop it. You'd cause an uproar. But the fact he was down and it was like, well, the referee's count is final. You go look at it, he does administer a fast count to Lebedev. Reminds me of something like that, if that's the case. Because it does happen, just to say, like, for those saying, that's ridiculous. Like, it does happen where referees are put in a situation where it's like, well, the corner, the doctor ain't going to, or I'm going to have to take matters into my own hands. Right? So it does happen. If you haven't seen that fight, go and watch it. Tremendous fight. It's reported here that Joe Cordina is set to defend his world title, his super featherweight world title, against Anthony Kakache on the undercard of Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. I've also seen rumours that Sergey Kovalev, the former light heavyweight champion, is going to be returning on the undercard of Fury versus Usyk. Bit of a random one, to be honest with you. Sergey Kovalev appearing there, but yes, apparently he's at cruiserweight now. He's not fought since he fought Terrell Pulev, didn't he? The brother of Kubrat Pulev, on a Thriller show back in 2022. I think I remember that fight, actually. I think that fight was on at something like 7 a.m. UK time. It's how late in the night it went on in the States. Because I think I remember waking up that Sunday morning, and being like, what's the result? No result. And then seeing, oh wow, it's actually still going on. Okay, that's a late night fight if ever I seen one, even by the state standards. So Pulev rumored to be on the undercard. That's Kovalev rumored to be on the undercard. That's interesting. Joe Parker has indicated, this was with TalkSport, that he may return on the Joshua versus Ngannou undercard. Has named Hrgovic and Zhang as two opponents. He said yes to fight. Couldn't he have fought Hrgovic a few years ago? But 2 years ago? Wasn't he actually one of the... After Hunter didn't go ahead with the Hrgovic fight, wasn't he one of the guys who the IBF looked at and he didn't fight him? So, obviously, money makes the world go round, and you could refuse to fight someone 1 minute, and then if the right amount of money is shown at you, oh, you're going to fight. It's risk reward at the end of the day. Do I think Parker is scared of Hrgovic? No. But at the time... That's not excusing it, by the way. At the end of the day, there was a lot of guys who were like, well, it's not going to pay us money. Michael Hunter, the guy who talked about, he'd fight guys for free, went to Triller to make more money. And we saw what happened there. Errol Spence has had cataract surgery. This was a couple of days ago, which he says has been overdue from before the Terence Crawford fight. And he goes on to say, why do you think so many jabs, and why do you think I got hit with so many jabs and hooks? Still a great performance. So giving props to Terence Crawford. Now, I don't have to quote directly here, but Terence Crawford did say words to the effect of, what was the word he used? I'm paraphrasing, but basically, they'll test you fully to make sure everything, not just neurologically in terms of your eyes and everything, is okay. So if you did have those issues, would it not show up? It's a very good point. Listen, Errol Spence, in my opinion, I said it after his fight with Crawford, and I'm going to say it again. I think he should just bow out gracefully. He should. I worry about Spence neurologically after that Crawford fight, and not just that Crawford fight, the car crash, because, there was this... He escaped from that car crash. He could have died. He escaped from it, we're told, with superficial injuries, minor to an extent anyway, his teeth and some. I never bought that. And you see how violent the crash was, and he was thrown from it. I always suspected there was something, he suffered something else. There was something else that we weren't probably told about. And I think probably an injury to his eye is something, because he's had problems with that before. He was meant to fight Manny Pacquiao in 2021, detached retina, which is a very serious injury, especially for a boxer. A lot of careers get halted because of that. He had that, now this. So I think Errol Spence, as much as I love watching him, as much as I enjoy watching him, I've been a fan of his over the years. When things like this are happening, and you take, especially the beating he took against Crawford, you have to just stop and say, is it worth it? I've made my money. I've been world champion. I've unified. Do I really need this? I just don't know. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has been arrested for possessing something that he shouldn't have in the in the US, in LA over the weekend. It's reported that concerned fans are worried about Chavez Jr., that he may be in danger to himself and others, so they called the police. It's really sad to see, Chavez Jr., the way it's been going like that over the years. It's really been, since he lost to Martinez, we've really seen him on a bit of a downward trajectory. I thought after the Canelo fight, where he did, to be fair, get himself into decent shape and made the weight. Maybe didn't make it comfortably, but he still made the weight nevertheless. Maybe that would be, a kind of thing where he was like, okay, I can do this. No, unfortunately, because I don't like seeing people. I don't want to say go off the rails, but I would just say he's gone necessarily off the rails. But I just don't like seeing people go into self-destruct. I don't like seeing that. And hopefully, fingers crossed, whatever's happening with him, he can come out the other end. In terms of some of the things on this side of the pond, Eddie Hearn has declared that he wants to do the Leigh Wood versus Josh Warrington rematch, May the 18th, Nottingham Forest City Ground. That's actually a really good fight. I liked the first fight, was very good. It was really Leigh Wood doing what he does, really, if you think about it. It's weird, isn't it? Against Michael Conlan, you could argue he was losing the fight and he snatched victory. Against Josh Warrington, he was, in my opinion, definitely losing the fight and he snatched victory. Against Mauricio Lara, certainly in the first fight, he went in the fight comfortably and then he gets knocked out. Obviously, he avenged that loss very well, but it was a real weird one. It's like, all right, you're normally losing and you snatch victory. Now you're winning and you've lost. Leigh Wood is going to be one of these fighters, I reckon, where if he feels he's doing well in the fight, he's going to panic. It's almost like with Leigh Wood, you're like, he's getting outboxed. He's having his head boxed off. Right, well, put all your money on Leigh Wood to win by knockout. Put it all on Leigh Wood to win by knockout this minute in time. And if he's winning the fight, if he's fighting and he's boxing well off the back foot, he's moving well, he's fighting comfortably, put all your money on the opponent. That's kind of how it's like with Leigh Wood in his last couple of fights, how it's been. It's like you see him doing well, be worried. If you see him doing bad, it's all good. He's got this. So what else do we have? We have a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. I seen this actually. Yeah, this is an interesting one. Luis Neri, apparently he is going to be fighting Naoya Inoue in Japan in May, in Tokyo to be exact. So Naoya Inoue won't immediately move up to 126 pounds. He's going to defend his undisputed super bantamweight world titles against Luis Neri. Now that's a very, very good fight. It's a very, very good fight. Luis Neri is public enemy number one in Japan with regards boxing. I cannot, forgive my ignorance, I can't remember his name, but he was a long reigning WBC champion at 118 pounds, I think. Coming on that, but I think it was 118 pounds. Forgive my ignorance. Cannot think of his name. Very good fighter as well. Luis Neri beat him. I don't know if this is in chronological order. I know he beat him twice. The first time, did he fail a PED test? And the second time, didn't he come in not just overweight, but quite a bit overweight? And I think, wasn't he banned from fighting in Japan for a little while after that? So he is going to be public enemy number one in Japan. And Naoya Inoue, I'm sure, I'll be picking Inoue because I was impressed with Neri when he came around first. But lately over the years, he's just been a bit, it's not been quite what it used to be. I'll put it like that. And Inoue, at the end of the day, you look at featherweight and you kind of think okay, the landscape there is, it's not solid. It's not terrible, but it's not great at the same time. You'd favour Inoue over most there. Whereas, he never defended his super band or his undisputed title at 118, so he can defend it now at 122. Let's see what he does after that. Eddie Hearn has revealed that their intention is for Anthony Joshua to face Filip Hrgovic for the vacant IBF title after his fight with Francis Ngannou on March the 8th. Now, AJ, I've seen in the rankings, people are saying, he's not in immediately number 2. The IBF now have that vacant. Well, it's not uncommon for sanctioning bodies to do that. I think the IBF do it more so than others, but the way it works, right? Just because you're not ranked at number 2, that doesn't mean you're not going to be able to fight for a vacant title. So the way it is with the IBF, a lot of times what they'll do, this is why sometimes with the IBF you can have very weak mandatories, because let's just hypothetically, I'm just going to use a hypothetical example here. Let's look at light heavyweight, for example, right? Let's say you have Anthony Yarde ranked, hypothetically, number 1, right? He's not really done anything, but he finds himself number 1 in the rankings. And number 2 is Lyndon Arthur, and he says, no, I don't want to fight Anthony Yarde. He's already beat me 1, I'm not going to fight him, okay. And you have Craig Richards, number 3. No, I'm not going to fight him for whatever reason, or I might move up to 200, hypothetically, just example, right? Then you have number 4, who is just, unknown. All right, I'll fight him. They could sell that. They could do that as an eliminator because they've gone down the rankings, and they'll do that for vacant titles as well. So just because he's staying at number 3, it doesn't mean anything. He'll probably still if it becomes vacant, he'll probably still fight for the IBF title, the vacant IBF title, if it becomes vacant, because this is all on the assumption that it will become vacant. We don't know that for a fact. If Alexander Usyk, say, beats Tyson Fury, and say Tyson Fury decides, you know what, legs are gone, the body can't physically do another camp, I keep the rematch, I'm bowing out. Well, then, different story. Then, you do have to look at other options. You generally want to do, because Usyk would probably just fight Hrgovic and keep his titles. And speaking of Joshua, Francis Ngannou says that the punch that knocked Fury down, the one that he knocked down by, he says, I guarantee you he ain't getting up from that. I've heard he doesn't have a chin. I'm going to find out. Well, I talked about this already, and for me, that shot that he dropped Fury with, for me it was more a combination of things. Do I think that it had some concussive effect to it? Yeah, minor. I think balance played a big part in it. If he'd have hit Joshua, if Joshua had been in that same position and he'd been hit with that shot, would he have gone down? Probably, yeah. But do I think he would have been, Amir Khan, Bambi legs? No. I think he would have got up and he would have just carried on as normal. He might have had to, hold on in a sense of, because Ngannou would have went for him, but I don't think he would have been, on dream streak. I think he would have been okay. In terms of, do I think Ngannou can hurt Joshua? Look, Ngannou is 270 odd pounds, a big puncher. Do I think he can hurt Joshua? I think he can hurt pretty much any heavyweight with his best shot, truth be told. I don't think that, there's this. If you see the heavyweight division, even those who have great chins get dropped. Because at the end of the day, right, you take someone who is 6'5", 250 pounds, and they hit you with their best shot. Doesn't matter who you are, it's going to knock your teeth clean out. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt, right? You take someone maybe 150 pounds, 5'6", someone with a decent chin, they crank up and hit them with their best shot. They might hurt them. They might take it. A bit of an unknown. A heavyweight, chances are it's going to hurt you. Chances are. Even if you got a really good chin. You give them a free hit, they're going to hurt you. They're definitely going to hurt you. In terms of Joshua's chin, listen, people want to say who's got a worse chin. Joshua Fury. They've both been dropped. Joshua tends to, they both get up. Joshua tends to take more time to recover. With Fury, it's more, I'm dropped, I'm back. There are fighters like that. With Joshua, he tends to take more time, but nevertheless, he's still not been knocked out, as in, down for the count or anything like that. He's always got back up. I would say that they're probably about on par in terms of punch resistance. I would say that there are fighters in the kind of topper tier or more well-known names in the heavyweight division who don't take as good a shot. I think there are heavyweights out there who take better shots. Give you Joseph Parker has a knockout loss on his record against Joe Joyce. I would say he probably would take a better shot than both. How well would he recover? Well, he'd try as hard as he did. He couldn't beat the count against Joe Joyce, but that shot I think would have put most down, truth be told. So, in terms of Ngannou saying that, Joshua, he doesn't know if he has a great chin. Look, I don't think Joshua is not Oliver McCall in there. He's not someone who could just take it all night and keep coming. No. But at the end of the day, he's not an Amir Khan type of chin either, where he's just on Bambi legs as soon as anyone remotely decent hits him. I think Joshua can be hurt. We know that. It's a case of how well does he recover. Eddie Hearn has been talking about the WBC situation at 140. He says that Devin Haney may now defend his title against mandatory challenger Sandor Martin. Oh, yippee! we can really see a Gaddy Ward type fight there with that one. Oh, ain't we so lucky? He's also said that he's tried to make offers to Boots Ennis to try and get him over to Matchroom in the Zone. He said, we've made him offers. I don't know if anything will happen, but we'd love to do that. Listen, you're mentioning Conor Benn. If you're going to make Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr., what's wrong with making Conor Benn versus Boots Ennis? Put him in the middleweight, put him in with a champion. There you go. Boots Ennis is tremendous. And I think that most promoters should be signing him, whether it's Eddie Hearn, Top Rank, etc. I think that Boots Ennis is box office. I think he's tremendous. So if he's there to sign, doesn't have to be Eddie Hearn, it could be anybody. Sign that guy. He is tremendous. Yeah, Philip Hearn is welcome to fight with Joseph Parker on the undercard of Joshua versus Ngannou. That'd be a risky fight for both guys because Hrgovic has a lot on the line. He says, I'm very happy to hear that. I'm ready. I accept your offer, Joe. Let's do it. Well, that's a step up. Joe Joyce isn't just a step up. I mean, he is... step up. Compared to Mark Demori, I mean, I don't even know. It's a chasm of a step up from that. Here's an interesting one. Ohara Davis on his YouTube channel talked about his loss to Ishmael Barroso over the weekend. He says he was kept awake by extra oxygen being pumped into the hotel casino, which then ventilated his room. All right, so he's essentially saying that lack of sleep, essentially, kept him awake, and that contributed to his performance. Fighters will always look for reasons. They always will. I've seen fighters will, to explain a loss. Listen, I've seen Irish fighters who have gone over to the UK, maybe even on a small hall show, have taken an L, and they've made excuses by saying, I made the weight. I can't make, say, 147. Can't make 147. I'm going to fight at 154. And then in their 3 months later in an interview, they're saying, yeah, I'm going to make 140. I was too, I'm making welterweight too easy. And, it's like, they know they just got beat by the better guy. But they have to, and again, I can understand why they do it. They have to say, no, if this had been right, I'd have won. Yeah, he on the night he won, but on another occasion, they have to. A lot of them do. A lot of them will say, it was this or it was this. At the end of the day, that's what a lot of them do. When I look at that fight with Ohara Davis and Ishmael Barroso, I mean, he came in and he got caught. There was nothing to it other than technique, truth be told. He had his glove down low. He went in with a guy who was fresh. He walked into a shot. He got caught. I don't think that there's any... He can make them excuses, yes, and he's in his right to. But I don't think there's anything other than a technical mistake he made. He went in, he got caught. That's what happens. It's not just getting caught cold in heavyweight. He can get caught cold in any division, Now, you can take this one to the bank. If I'm wrong, so be it. You can take this one to the bank. Kell Brook has stated he's willing to come out of retirement to fight Chris Eubank Jr. or Conor Benn if he's allowed to fight in the UK again. Don't see why he wouldn't be. Everywhere I go, people are saying they want me out of retirement and boxing is dead without me. It's been pretty decent. I loved Kell Brook in his prime. I did. I love Kell Brook in general, watching him. But I'm happy to see him bow out the way he did, and I haven't been yearning for him to come back, truth be told. But I'm going to take it to the bank. Benchlon was going to try and do Eubank versus Kell Brook. And it wouldn't even remotely shock me if that fight happens. And I'm going to say it probably will. They'll offer Kell Brook some money. They'll do it on Sky Box Office pay-per-view. Eubank versus Brook. And Eubank will win. You can take that one to the bank. If I'm wrong, so be it. But I just have a feeling that's what's going to happen. I do. I just have a feeling that's what's going to happen. William Zepeda versus Maxi Hughes. Great fight. Really great fight, to be fair. In talks could take place on March the 16th, just before Paddy's weekend, or just before Paddy's Day, in Las Vegas. as an eliminator for the IBF. So the winner be mandated to fight the winner of Loma versus Kambosos, which is set to take place in the month of April. So, I'm going to end it on that one. Right. I like Maxi Hughes. And no disrespect to William Zepeda, but Maxi Hughes shouldn't be fighting him. And I'll tell you why he shouldn't be fighting him. He should be fighting Loma for that title. Because he beat George Kambosos. In my opinion, and in many others, he beat George Kambosos. If you've not watched the fight, it wasn't a classic, but Maxi Hughes won the damn fight. He won the damn fight. He should be fighting for that world title, not George Kambosos, in my opinion. And that's what I got to say on that. Now, I'm going to leave that there. There's been a lot to dissect. There's been an absolute lot to dissect over the last little while. So, I will leave it there. We've got a lot still to look forward to. Hopefully, we'll get something out tomorrow. And then, obviously, we're looking forward. Probably, no, I'm going to say, we're not going to do a watch-along on Saturday for the Sky show, for the Beterbiev Smith show, which I really am looking forward to. In actually, jog my memory there. Before we end it, I did see this. Now, this was an interest. Where is it? I'm going to have to go and close this tab. It's on a different one. No, here we go. Arda Beterbiev has had an atypical finding for raised HGH, human growth hormone, I'm assuming, and testosterone menolite 5D, okay, in a December 6th VADA drug test ahead of his fight against Callum Smith. However, both substances occur naturally in the body, and atypical finding is not a violation like an adverse finding. So the fight still goes ahead because follow-up tests requested by VADA were all negative. All right, interesting. So he didn't fail anything, essentially. It's not like he pinged affirmative for, some of the stuff that Miller's been, pinging for. Stuff like that. Interesting that's coming to the fore now. Well, December 6th. The way VADA do... Does anyone remember years ago when Berman Stavern failed a VADA test for an energy drink? Well, whatever was in the energy drink, and he got like a slap on the wrist fine. They very seldom do that nowadays. Now, that, as they're saying there, is an atypical. Obviously, an adverse finding is very different. An adverse finding is, why the hell is that there? Whereas this is something that they're saying is atypical. In terms of Smith Beterbiev, I've already given my pick on it. I think Beterbiev wins. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to be easy, but I think that he will come through it and get the win. It's going to be interesting that comes to the forefront, because I guarantee you, if Beterbiev wins, a lot of people are going to be looking at him with that raised eyebrow like, did you win? Did you actually win? Or did you have some help? We're going to wait and see on fight night. I'm looking forward to that fight. For now, I will leave it there. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. As always, people, I hope you enjoyed it. All that good stuff. 15,400 and around about 40 subs. So, we're going there. We're getting there. 20k, lads. 20k. Blimey. Just to even think that that's the next step. 20 flipping k. That's crazy. I leave it there. Hope you enjoyed it. Peace.